Around the age of 25, I left Tiger Schulmann's headquarters and I actually broke out with a serious fever. I went to the hospital and was diagnosed with pneumonia, and I stayed in the hospital for about 2 months. In that process, they couldn't figure out why I was continuing to have the pneumonia. When I got out, I would suffer from chronic fatigue and just generally run down. I went to a bunch of doctors and they kept saying chronic fatigue over and over. It was around the age of 32 where I went to actually donate blood, where the nurse taking the blood said, "There's something up with your heart. There's really something wrong. You need to get this checked out." As a result of that, I wound up going into the hospitals and get my heart checked, and they found out the function of my heart was down to 10%. When I got diagnosed, the recommendation was immediate heart transplant, and the final doctor recommendation was, "You're done with martial arts. You need to take life easy or this can kill you." I was upset because you see people abusing their body their entire life, and I was like, I've done everything right to this point. It's not fair. I got over that really quick though, and just realized like life is a fight as I learned on the mat, and I rejected what that doctor said immediately with that mindset. And I said, I don't care what anyone says, I'm plowing through this thing, and I'm gonna live the life the way I wanna live it. My first thing was to find a doctor that believed exercise along with proper treatment was the answer. I probably went through about 45 and every single one was the same answer. You can't do martial arts anymore. This is gonna lead to death or a heart transplant. It's over. And I was like, these are not the people I need in my corner. Not living the way I wanna live. To me, there's no purpose of living. Some people live to 100, some people live to 60. But the quality of life you have and honoring the life that you have and living the way you want, that is being alive, and a lot of people don't give themselves that honor. So working out is my life, training people, that's my life, and I wasn't gonna let anything stop me, even a heart pump or needing a new heart. If there was a doctor that told me I can't train anymore or I can't be teaching and exerting the kind of energy that I wanted to do, I'd walk out of their office. So about 6 months later, I found someone. About 37 years of age, I started feeling real fatigue, and it was one night I woke up and I just couldn't breathe, and I rushed myself to the hospital, and they found about 10 pounds of fluid in my heart and lungs, so my heart was in full failure. They said, now you definitely have to stay in the hospital. We're putting you on the heart transplant list at this point. Again, against the doctor's orders, I got out of the hospital and resumed my training, and I was able to push it off for a few more years. But around the age of 40, I woke up one night and was short of breath, and I knew it was going on again. I knew I had fluid in my lungs. I pushed it off for about 3 months, where I went from not being able to sleep flat to sleeping a little more elevated, and I got to a point where I couldn't even fall asleep sitting straight up. So after about a month of not being able to sleep, I decided to head to the hospital, and it was time to get the heart transplant. When I went back in at that point, they no longer could just remove the fluid from my lungs. I had to be attached to tubes, and I was literally strapped to a bed for about 3 months, where I went in the hospital 180 pounds ripped and got down to about 135 pounds skin and bones. The next step was to do a surgery where they implant what is called a left ventricular assist device. What it is actually a device that wraps around your heart muscle to help it function and help it squeeze where my heart couldn't squeeze on its own any longer. So 2 days after my left ventricular assist device was installed, Tiger Schulmann actually visited me in the hospital and spent about 2 hours across from me in a chair. And the crazy thing about that was, at that time, the rule was, because of the severity of that surgery, I'm supposed to keep my feet elevated for 48 hours because you can swell up and the pain you feel in your entire body is insane. But my teacher came in the room, so when he came in the room, I put my feet down, and for about 2 hours we had conversations, at which time my legs kept swelling up more and more, but that poker face that I learned in martial arts, I kept on. But the significance of that story is, it's amazing that he came and he spent that time with me, but the value of having a mentor that makes you realize you have more strength than you can ever know for yourself, yet we focus on our weaknesses. And if we only have someone like that, if I can take this, I can take anything. And if I have him in my corner, along with my brother and my family, I can overcome everything. Once I received the left ventricular assist device, it was about 2 years for me to get a transplant. What I did in those 2 years was, just like a fighter prepares for a fight, is I got ready for that new heart too. The average person that gets that left ventricular assist device takes their medicine, sits in bed and watches Investigation Discovery. I made it my full-time mission to just exercise. I started walking, building up to a slow jog into a run. And then I would also periodically, in between hospital stays, show up to my headquarters to train. I just firmly believe to stay alive, I had to live the way I wanted to live. And being with the martial artists and the crew on this mat and my family of Tiger Schulmann's, that's what kept me alive. At the age of 41, I get the phone call, Mr. Curran, come to the hospital, you have a heart. I can't tell you what goes on in your mind when you know, after you've been through hell and back, that now you're gonna be in surgery where your heart is removed and you get someone else's heart implanted in you. So the emotions that I was going through was pretty dramatic and insane at that point. I would say the most amazing thing about it though is I was at such a feeling of peace. If I was to go, I was at peace because I gave it all I got. So I stayed in the hospital that night and actually just called my family and said, I love you guys. And it was time to just let go and trust in faith and know that I was coming out of it all right. When I woke up, the doctors told me it was a big success. After 2 weeks in the hospital, I was released. First thing I wanted to do is clear my head. So across from Columbia Hospital is actually the Hudson River. And I remember just walking across the street, thinking to myself, like, what's next? What are you gonna do now? In that moment, I look to my left and I see a paraplegic. And I just thought to myself, you have no idea how lucky you are. You can move your arms, you can move your legs, you still have life in you. That guy, that's a hero. He's out here instead of in his house feeling bad for himself. So I made a promise I was gonna push myself and train harder than I ever did before. The fight's on. Had I not trained here, I believe I would have made it through this, but I believe my mentality would have been different. I probably would have turned life down. I would have taken things a lot easier rather than have the mentality of no excuse. The tougher things are, the tougher you have to be, and the tougher you are when you do it, the bigger the reward is as a result of it. And I learned this in my training that you climb for a bit, you hit plateaus. To me, this just was one of the toughest plateaus I ever hit. And when you climb through a plateau and you push through it, you explode to the next level. So everything that became second nature to me through the training and the teaching at Tiger Schulmann's, I implemented in this area of my life too, and just refused to quit. There's so much more to Tiger Schulmann's than punches and kicks. Tiger Schulmann's is about the human potential you have inside yourself, and a lot of people live their entire lives never knowing the potential that they have. When you train, you learn about yourself, and you learn about things in life, like life is gonna hurt sometimes. So what, I had a heart transplant. I trained despite. Your mind is stronger. So you might have pain, but you own that pain. Martial arts is the foundation. It gets you more confident. And when you're confident, you go for things in life. Because you're gonna have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have the belief in yourself, you don't go for things in life. Life is a fight, and when you go for it and you get knocked down and get back up, you learn and you win the fight. Life's about going for it. It builds your mind, it builds your body, it builds your spirit. That's what you tap into, and you're limitless with that, and you can train for life, and you'll never stop growing. To me, martial arts, it's not a place you go to the gym. Martial arts is a way of life.